Hey solos, so what are the Epcot festivals and should you plan a trip to Disney World by yourself to go to one? Well, here's a little solo spoiler for you. Yes. I do it all the time, and it was one of my favorite reasons to go to Walt Disney World, just for the Epcot festivals. And so in today's bonus episode, we are going to talk about Epcot festivals. Hi everyone, it is Samantha. Olaf may not know who Samantha is, but now you do. And welcome to Solo Magic, the podcast about the magic of going to Disney World solo. As I said in today's episode, it is a bonus episode in which I am just going to talk about the 4 Epcot festivals, and I'm going to focus primarily on the Flower and Garden Festival because it is on for one more month and I wanted to tell you about it. So if you're on the fence about planning a trip to Epcot or to Disney this month, maybe this will push you one way or the other. However, before we begin that, I wanted to say thank you. It is May the 1st, and so this podcast has officially been on the air, officially been published online for 1 month. And I just wanted to say thank you so much for all of your listens. Thank you for the subscriptions. Thank you for the liking and the rating and all of that stuff. It has made a huge difference. Thank you for the follows on Instagram. Thanks for the DMs. Like, it's been really, really nice to know that even in this first month, this podcast is not completely just screaming into a void. So I really wanted to say thank you so much for the listens, the subscriptions, the rating, and I really hope that it will continue to build a community and that I can do your listening time justice. Now, because it is May the 1st and we have been on for a month, I have launched 2 new things that I want to make sure you know about. So this podcast is available on Apple and Spotify and has been since April the 1st. However, I am now also on YouTube. I won't be making video content necessarily, but I am going to make sure that all of the episodes are up on YouTube as a podcast episode. So you can now just listen to this on YouTube as well as Apple and Spotify if you want. And I know that having that option is really great for some people. And even though I am talking about it today, to say that it is launched, it has been up for a week. And I know that some people have already found it. And there's like a few little subscribers that have click. So thank you again for that. That's really, really awesome. I talk about the Instagram page a lot on this podcast because that is the main point of connection. So it's Disney_solo_magic. However, now there's also a Facebook page and you can connect with me on that Facebook page, and all of the content from Instagram will also upload to that. So if you aren't on Instagram but you are on Facebook, now you'll be able to have that in your feed. And so please follow, you'll get to see all the pictures, etc., etc. And I'm really excited to connect with you that way as well. Please make sure you follow me on Instagram, Facebook, Apple, Spotify, YouTube, review, share, subscribe, all that stuff. And let's get started. All right, if I have said this once, I have said it at least, I don't know, how many episodes are up now? 8? I've said it at least 8 times. I love Disney World, obviously. I enjoy going. It's a really great place, but I will go to Disney World for a weekend just for an Epcot festival, whereas I wouldn't go to Disney just for a weekend to go to Magic Kingdom. There's something about the Epcot festivals that, to me, that feel adult, that feel innovative, that feel new, that feel exciting, that I will make a trip to go and experience the things of the Epcot festivals. And it's one of the reasons why I've gone so much in the last couple years, because there are so many things at the festivals I want to try, I want to see, I want to experience, and because it changes all the time, it really helps make it a slightly different experience every time I go. So in this episode, I want to talk about all 4 Epcot festivals, and I want to talk about the Flower and Garden Festival, which is happening right now, and it is happening for the rest of this month. So I wanted to make sure that this episode was up so that, again, if you're thinking about going in May, then you'll know what to expect with the Flower and Garden Festival. Now, when I recorded the episode on Epcot, I hadn't yet been to the Flower and Garden Festival for the year, but I am recording this 3 or 4 days before it's actually going to be posted, which is usually rare. Usually I try to record things way in advance unless I have a really great guest speaker and I want that episode to go up right away. And the reason why I waited to record this episode is because I wanted to make sure I went to the Flower and Garden Festival a couple times this year, so I would be able to like explain to you what was happening as well as tell you about the festivals in general. There are 4 festivals that happen every year: the Festival of the Arts, the Flower and Garden Festival, the Food and Wine Festival, and the Festival of the Holidays. The Festival of the Arts happens in January and February, and it is the newest of the 4 festivals. The Flower and Garden Festival happens in the spring, usually March, April, May, sometimes into June, and that is focused on flowers and gardens and like spring. The Food and Wine Festival, it started in the fall, so I always think of it as the fall festival, but actually in the past few years in particular, it has started into the summer. Now that has just changed, and that's actually another really good reason why I'm recording this episode today. Don't worry if you have no idea what I'm talking about, I will get back to that. And then the Festival of the Holidays is just 1 month. It is in December, and even though it's called the International Festival of the Holidays, it's really a Christmas festival. The main thing about all of the festivals is that there are these food booths that are around the park, and they will have little like palm size bites of food, little plates of food, little amuse-bouches, if you will, for you to try that usually aligns with the theme of the particular festival. So an example that I've used before is at the Festival of the Arts, they have like a deconstructed lemon meringue pie, not just like a lemon meringue pie, but they want to make it look arty. You know what I mean? At the International Festival of the Holidays, they will have latkes, which is a potato pancake that is part of the Jewish tradition, although not part of Hanukkah specifically, because they're referencing like the Jewish holiday of Hanukkah, even though you can get a latke any time of year. And actually at some of at the International Food and Wine Festival, they often have potato pancakes in the Germany pavilion that are very close to latkes. And they will also at the International Festival of the Holidays have a lot of things with like cloves and cinnamon, because it's Christmassy. So all of the different food booths have foods that align with the theme of the particular festival. All of the festivals also have merchandise. Big surprise. The Festival of the Arts has kind of become the Figment Festival for some reason. Like a few years ago, the Figment popcorn bucket had 8-hour lines. And I think at that point, Disney was like, oh, we hit on something here. And so now it's like Figment everything. I don't really think that the year before Figment was as prominent as it was after that popcorn bucket like bonanza, but there we go. So there's different merchandise, all that stuff. There's also different decorations around the park that align with the theme. So there's some really cool chalk art and different like photo opportunities during the Festival of the Arts. So it looks like you're in a classical painting. During the Flower and Garden Festival, they have the most gorgeous gardens. They have the most gorgeous topiaries to really bring up the idea of flowers and gardens. During the Festival of the Holidays, obviously there's a lot of Christmas trees around, and there's so many different types of garlands that are hanging. Like they're really, really gorgeous. So there is that extra idea of decoration. During all the festivals, they also have entertainment. So in the band shell by the American Pavilion, they have different concert series. For the Festival of the Arts, they have Broadway singers. For both Flower and Garden and for Food and Wine, they have popular bands or nostalgic popular bands. So I have seen during the Flower and Garden Festival the Pointer Sisters, the Commodores, the Spinners. I am younger than those suggestions, or I am younger than those musical preferences suggest, but be that as it may, they were amazing concerts. And then in the Food and Wine Festival, they'll have Hanson and Boys to Men and to other things that make millennials very, very excited. And then during the Festival of the Holidays, they have like basically the nativity play, not a nativity play, but it's like the reading of the nativity story with a local choir and a celebrity host. So like John Stamos and Neil Patrick Harris and Simu Lee have been some really popular ones. Each one of the festivals also have things like a scavenger hunt where you go around looking for like an Olaf, for example, during the Festival of the Holidays, or a orange bird or a bee or whatever, whatever different character they tell you to look for. And you go around and you look in all these different gardens. And if you find them, you put a little sticker. And at the end, if you found them all, you get a prize. Now you pay for this scavenger hunt and you can get the prize without finding them all. In fact, the first time I went and I got one of them, like the cast member was like, "Do you just want the prize now?" And I was like, okay. But I still take it very seriously. I just want you to know, I take it very seriously. I still go and look for all of the different things I need to look for because I do take it seriously, even though I don't really, as a grown adult, want to go back with my stickers on the thing to be like, look, I found them all. But I will find them all, and in my heart I will be very happy about that. So they have things like that. There's also different photo pass, memory maker, magic shots that align with the different festivals. So like I said, you can really go these different 4 times a year and have a very different experience, like similar but different, which for some anxious little brains and bodies is a great option. I'm not speaking for anyone speaking at the moment, but perhaps someone speaking at the moment. Now, if I was recording this episode like 2 weeks ago, I would say to you that you probably will not go to Epcot without running into a festival, that there really is only like a handful of days that doesn't have a festival. It goes one festival to another, to another, to another, with maybe 5 days in between. But this year it is different. Now, on the Epcot episode, I feel like I had said that I wish that there was a 5th festival that happened in June, July, and August, because I think that the International Food and Wine Festival starts too early. And maybe Disney heard that, even though that episode wasn't published until after they made this decision. And after they announced this. But this year, the Food and Wine Festival ends at the end of May, and the International Food and Wine Festival does not start until Labor Day, which is the end of August, early September. And so actually there won't be a festival during June, July, and August. And I think that's actually great. So let me take a quick step back to talk about the history of the festivals generally. So about 25 years ago, and this was probably done because it was a low season, in the same way that like all the Run Disney events actually demonstrate to you where the low visitor attendance days are. I'm pretty sure that the Food and Wine Festival started as a way to get people to come to Epcot during a low month, and that was in the fall. It was either September or October, about 20 years ago, and it was just for 1 month. And it was supposed to be this 1 month just kind of extravaganza of different wines, of different foods. It was much, much smaller, and it got really busy. It got really, really successful. It grew really, really quickly. They really realized that people actually like to come to Epcot for these kind of special experiences. So it grew. It became longer. It added different things. Like 10 years ago, for example, they had food demonstrations. They had celebrity chefs. They had all of this different stuff going on during the International Food and Wine Festival. And it became this fall festival that really focused on food and wines and celebrity chefs and sommeliers and all of that stuff. And I remember talking to my then partner when I was in my 20s, and I'm like, ooh, when we're a grown up, we should go to the Food and Wine Festival, even though we don't drink wine. And he was like, okay, whatever. Because it really felt like this special kind of adult thing in Epcot. But I think Disney realized how popular it was and how much, like, that it didn't need to be this niche thing, that it could actually be very popular for a lot of different audiences, right? That's why they have like the scavenger hunts, for example, that's really designed for kids, but I do it all the time and I'm very good at it. But I think that Disney was like, oh, this is a really cool thing. So let's expand the different festivals that we do. And the International Festival of the Arts is the newest festival. And again, I think it's because they really thought, like, let's have a colorful thing in January and February to draw people to Epcot during these kind of gray months. And so it has been really cool to see the evolution of the festivals. But the Food and Wine Festival, as the OG festival, as a festival that was designed to be the fall festival, has never really made sense when it happens through the summer. The foods are very heavy. They are very like, they're foods that go with red wines. They aren't foods that go with a cool glass of white wine. They aren't foods that are really designed for July and August. And I'm really kind of excited that they are really just focusing on September, October, and November for the Food and Wine Festival, because the longer festival makes it kind of less special. So anyway, now if you go to Epcot this summer, you will not actually see a festival, which is going to be kind of rare for the first time in quite a few years. So which is the best festival? Well, I guess it really depends on you. I will say that the Food and Wine Festival is my least favorite festival. And that's because, again, I don't necessarily think that the menus align with the different seasons. And I don't know, I think maybe because they've been doing it so long, they haven't needed to innovate in the same way they have with the Festival of the Arts and Flower and Garden. So Flower and Garden, I do think, is my favorite. And I think that maybe one of the reasons is because I'm in Canada, where we have gray winters, and to be able to go to Florida to see this cornucopia, this kaleidoscope of colors and plants, like, it really is such a wonderful inclusion or wonderful entree into spring. It is just so beautiful. The landscaping is just incredible. And they also have topiaries all over the park that are different Disney characters, which are really impressive. And I always thought that if I went to this festival, I would really focus on the topiaries. But the fact is, no, not as much as the fact that every single garden has different plants. It has displays of different plants. It is just bursting with life and greenery, and it is so wonderful to see that after a long, cold winter. I also really like the Festival of the Arts. I have found the food to be more interesting than at the Flower and Garden Festival. And again, I think it's because it's the newest festival that they're still innovating, right? What they can do. And so I always find the food quite an interesting treat. Now, if you go to the festivals, if you go to every single festival every single year, you definitely won't find as much novelty amongst the menus if you are just doing the things that are like one-off. So, just kind of note that as well, that if you are planning on doing all of the different festivals, you might see some duplications on menus. But if you are like, okay, the next 4 years, I'm going to focus on one festival of year, then that would be such a cool way to be able to see like the growth and evolution of the festivals generally, but then also focus on one festival every year specifically. I also really like the Flower and Garden Festival because of the different bands that they get to play. So, like I said, there are a lot of bands from the 70s that are really awesome to listen to. The Food and Wine Festival, because it's been happening longer, gets these bands that are really popular in the 80s and the 90s, and I guess the zeros, whatever, the aughts, whatever they're called. I don't know, I'm just like not as excited to hear those bands. Like, they get bigger names because it's been a longer booking than the Flower and Garden Festival. But I really love to go listen to the bands. In fact, the last couple years, I've gone to the Flower and Garden Festival just to listen to the bands, which has been really cool. The International Festival of the Arts has Broadway singers that every time I'm there, I'm really excited to go hear, but then I never actually make it a priority. So that, I guess, tells you a little bit about like where I like to put my focus. Now, all of these concerts, you don't need a separate ticket for. It's an open air band shell, so sometimes you can just like stand outside the band shell and listen to the music. For popular bands like Boyz II Men, for example, it is very, very busy. A ton of people are standing outside and they are listening to the music, whereas like less popular bands, you can just like walk up in the middle of their set. So, you don't need another ticket, but know that the popular bands, you probably are going to start lining up early. All of the concerts happen 3 times a night, like at 6:45, 7:30, 8 o'clock. Those times are not correct. Obviously, go check them, but they're very early. The sets are only 15-20 minutes, which is kind of not too bad. You don't get too tired. And there are options where you can get a dining package and pay a small premium, about $20-$25, and then get to sit in like exclusive seating. Now, because I have gone into Florida just to see bands as part of the Garden Rocks Flower and Garden Festival, I have paid that premium, and for me it's been totally worth it because, again, I don't like standing in line. So even if it's not a popular band for a lot of people, but popular for me, I still don't just want to stand in a line. That's not the way I want to start my enjoyment of that particular band. So I have done the dining package, and that's also kind of introduced me to restaurants I wouldn't have eaten at normally. So it's kind of been a win-win. Now, this year's Flower and Garden Festival has really, really been beautiful as usual. I haven't found the food to be quite the standout that I have in previous years. And I'm not quite sure why that is. I'm not quite sure if that's me or if it's the food. I'm not quite sure if it's because I'm kind of used to the festival food and now I'm always looking for something new, or if maybe they don't need to try as hard with the different foods. I'm not quite sure. So I'm really excited to go to the Food and Wine Festival in the late fall to be able to see if maybe that extra time has upped the kitchen game of the different things that they kind of bring out as part of the package. The flowers, as always, were totally, totally beautiful and incredible. And I really wish there was, and like in the Living with the Land, they actually set up these cute little areas in the greenhouse that correspond to a Disney story. And it's like a little set piece that kind of makes, I don't know, it's like in the Caribbean area of the greenhouse, they set up a little mermaid book with a couple different things to kind of just like bring that story together with the growing. And I actually really wish they had done like an additional tour, even for a different cost, an additional tour that could lead you around and like talk a little bit more about the different stories with the growing, like the flower and gardens that are in the Living with the Land pavilion. So I wish there was a little bit more of that programming. I wish there was programming in the Flower and Garden Festival that were tours with the gardeners. I think that would be really, really awesome. And I'm hoping that with the new Communicore hall that they are opening imminently in the next like month and a half, that there will be more of the programming, like speaker series and celebrity chefs or Imagineers that talk about certain elements of Disney or the ways they've set things up that align with either arts or gardens or food and wine or with different holidays. Like I really wish there was that extra level of more human programming to the different festivals. So should you go to the Flower and Garden Festival this year? Well, where I am right now, it is trying to be spring, but it has been very, very cold this April. And so if you really, really need a dose of spring, then yes, go to the Flower and Garden Festival, see the beautiful flowers, eat some delicious food, if not the most inventive food, but still very, very delicious. Go take a look at all the different gardens and look for Spike the Bee. Go listen to a band. There's some really great ones coming up in May. I actually really wanted to go one more time in May, and I'm really, really upset that that trip is not going to happen this year. But just go for sure. It's really, really awesome. If you want to go see a festival though, and you can't go in May, then know that the next time you should go is September, October, November, or December, but you're not going for a festival this summer. So it'll be really interesting if they do anything with those food booths in June, July, and August. All right. I covered all the festivals. Talked about Flower and Garden. I love the Epcot festivals. They're awesome. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I don't think so. I will talk to you next week. I'm going to talk about Animal Kingdom next week, rather than Hollywood Studios, which I know is like the kind of like natural one that you do next. It's like the natural third park, but I'm doing Animal Kingdom next. And I can't wait to talk to you then. So until then, bye everyone. Hey Solos, I hope you like this episode and all the episodes of Solo Magic, the podcast about the magic of going to Disney World solo. Please remember, if you can, to support the podcast by reviewing, by rating, by subscribing, by sharing with others, and so we can continue to build this community of solo travelers who love going to Disney World and find it the most magical ever. Also connect with me on Instagram, Disney_solo_magic, as well as on Facebook. Can't wait to talk with you next week. Bye.